Good morning. Hi. Well, look at you. I'm Reverend Steve, and you are at the Grants Pass Center for Spiritual Living. If you didn't know where you were, you do now. Well, welcome to spring, and I went over my notes yesterday and it just didn't fit. You know, it was one of those, So I rewrote my talk late last night. So it went from where humanity and divinity meet to renewing your faith. So just stay with me. It's all the same, right? Basically, where you are the place where humanity and divinity meet. If you all know the sign of the cross. It's done in other traditions, the sign of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, right? The Father idea, the Son is the result of the Father, and the Spirit of wholeness is what we all pass through. And where those two converge is where you are right now. So spring is the time when God renews nature and brings us fresh flowers. So it's time to clean out our closets and clean out the cobwebs of our mind. My mind. So have you ever questioned your faith? Have you ever said, sometimes I just don't feel it. Sometimes that connection isn't always as powerful as different times. You ever have that sensation where you're like, These times call for us to turn our faith to our faith even more. When I feel empty. Sometimes I feel empty. I mean, to deny your feelings is not to tell the truth, right? Have you ever felt helpless in some situation where you were just not there? The connection wasn't there and you were calling out for assistance. Why do I sometimes feel so enslaved by my hurts or my depression? Our depression can take us over sometimes, right? I mean, if I just stood up here and said you shouldn't feel that way, I would be denying the truth of reality, right? Sometimes we ask, is there any hope for someone like me to experience the fullness of God's joy and the love of this universe? So I go back to my beginnings, and I urge you to go back to your beginnings of where you were walking through something and you asked somebody for assistance, and assistance came. And it may have come in the form of a person or an idea or a sensation or a new reality that all of a sudden that connection was made where you went, wow. I mean, I'm getting God bumps just thinking about it, where at one moment I felt so desperate for connection and felt so all alone. And in the next moment, after that connection had been made, I felt completely one with everything that is. You know that sensation? So, most of us come into this teaching through either inspiration or desperation. And I was a desperation seeker. I was not inspired. Well, after I went through my desperation, I was inspired. But I was first called because of my desperation to find a new way, to find a connection, to feel like I was part of this life. Because I didn't feel like I belonged to anything. I rebelled against everything. Because that was my way of connecting. Is that crazy or what? So I had to remember the feelings that I first had when I was inspired to move in a different direction. When just enough of life had built itself up to show me how challenging it can be, and I call it being hit upside the head by the 2x4 of life, where I was just like, all of a sudden, boom, I was awakened. And it hurt. It hurt. I mean, it hurt so much that I was ready to check out. I had gone through a relationship situation, and it hurt so much that I thought that there was nothing else to live for. Now, we've all had situations in our life that have brought us to the brink of the edge. And there I stood and looked down. I've lost a lot of friends there, baby. I got no time to mess around. Van Halen, sorry. So I turned to what I knew to turn to, which was my dad. I turned to my parents. And I was fortunate enough to make a connection with my father. And he said, I said, I want to check out. I don't want to do this life anymore. And he goes, oh, okay. I get that. I can understand with what you've been through. But before you do, I want you to get a treatment with a religious science practitioner at your local church. I was like, what? You're sending me to God now? And I was out to do everything he said so I could prove him wrong, Because then I could come back and go, well, that didn't work. What else you got? So the next day I made an appointment at my local religious science church. I met that practitioner at noon, and we went into a little room. And I was going to prove her wrong, right? And she said, well, just tell me what's going on. And I talked for 15 or 20 minutes about my problems, right? And she was listening so intently. I was just like, wow, I've never been listened to before, And then at the end, she said, is there anything else? It's like, wasn't that enough? Wasn't that enough? She goes, well, I just want to make sure before we go into the treatment that there was nothing else that you wanted to know the truth about. And I said, no, I think that's it. And she went into some treatment. Some words were uttered, and I can't remember exactly what was said. All I know is that something touched me at the level of my belief and my understanding that all of a sudden a switch was flipped. And I heard for the first time that I was going to be okay. No matter what I was walking through, I was going to be okay. And I walked out, and I wasn't completely healed, but I was on the road to recovery, if you know what I mean. A connection was made that was, I can't even explain it. Try to explain a miracle, right? But something happened, and she gave me some homework to do. Of course, good practitioner. I had some reading to do. And one of the things that she had given me was Romans 12:2. It says, do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I could have had a V8. And she went in to tell me that maybe this situation was set up by me and this other person to bring me exactly the situation I need to catapult me into the next dimension, to send me in a new direction towards my healing. And that's exactly what it was, all of a sudden, I realized that this was a blessing, not a curse. This was part of my healing, not something to tear me down. Although, at the time, I wanted to kill myself because I didn't understand. I was so about me that I wasn't connected. God didn't disconnect from me. I disconnected from the universe. You know, the universe, you can never be disconnected. It can only appear that you are not connected. It's just like your cell phone. If the source is on, you are getting the signal. If you're alive, you're on. And you've got the signal. And even when you're so-called dead, you're just not alive in this body. You're still getting the signal somewhere else. You move on to the next greatest yet to be in a new plane of existence. That's what last week was all about. The resurrection taught us that even though our bodies may pass away, our soul connection can never be broken. We will always be alive in spirit. So, remember a time when you went through your challenge and everything worked out in the end for the best. Whatever you're walking through now, can you look at it and see it as a blessing? I know it's hard when you're in the midst of it. That's the illusion drawing you into the challenge of it. But when you see that there's a bigger picture, then it will bless your life. How has God guided you to this new experience? So remember a time when the divine intervened on your behalf. So I have a couple of instructions for myself here that I'd like to share with you. Instructions to renew my faith. Pray. Pray to renew your faith. Affirm what you do want and draw your attention away from what you don't want. Energy flows where your attention goes. Pray the prayer of divine right action. I may not know how it's supposed to go, but I know that there's an infinite knower of all things. And if I can just put my power in whatever I believe the infinite is, and you get to decide what that is. You get to decide what the power source of all that is for you. What you call it and what it means to you is your business. You can call it God, source energy, goddess energy, great spirit. Whatever works for you, Jesus the Christ, whatever is yours, that's your business. But we all know that there's something going on. You know, somebody will knock on my door and ask me if I've been saved or am I going to the right place, and all I have to ask them is, do you believe in God? So, yes, I believe in God too. The rest is your own business. You have to believe in something, even if it's science, which is, it's all God, right? So here's some simple affirmations that I use. This too is good, this too is God, and I demand to see the blessing in this situation right here and right now. I like to say that in the face of a challenge. Because it reminds me quickly that this too is good, even though it may not look like it. This too is God, because I believe everything, there's not a spot where God is not. And I make a demand on the universe. Now be careful when you make a demand on the universe. Don't stomp your foot. Because when you stomp your foot, you get that feeling and it stomps back. It may show you in very stompable ways how the power exists. Here's the next one. I restore my faith and I feel it now. I restore my faith and I feel it now. I remove all the doubt in my mind and heart and replace it with faith. Replace everything with faith. Just knowing that there is that within you that knows that it knows that it knows. Because when you activate that, watch for the clues. Watch what happens in your life. Watch your phone start to ring. There is still goodness in the world, and I attract it into my life right now. No matter what's going on, you can know that there is still goodness in the world. Now, at times, I have felt that there wasn't. You ever been so disillusioned with life that it's like, there's nothing good in the world? Stomp my foot. Well, be careful. Don't stomp your foot. And my favorite is, I still believe in love. I still believe in love. That is the most powerful statement, which draws to you the universe showing you how loved you are. Just saying that, say it with me. I still believe in love. Gosh, isn't that cool? It's so powerful. Thank you for saying that with me. So here's number 2. Look for ways to help others. Why? When you start helping somebody else, you get out of your own challenge. You don't think so much about what's bugging you if you're helping somebody else. Sometimes being reminded of how blessed we are helps us not to see our own circumstances as quite as bleak, and it returns and renews our faith. Count your blessings, not your challenges. You know, I'm a list maker. I want to list every challenge I have, and I'm quickly to turn the page over and do a gratitude list. What am I grateful for? If energy flows where our attention goes and you're making a list of your challenges, what are you telling the universe? I had to call myself out on this. I'm looking at my challenges. Oh, I forgot one. And I'm like, why am I do I want these to get bigger? No. I want to be able to check it off, cross it off, and turn it over. I want to turn it over. I want to turn it over. And I want to turn into what I believe. 3, remember the things you know to be true about God. Read some texts that make sense to you, the Science of Mind textbook, or Louise Hay, or whatever it is for you. Or listen to a piece of music. There is nothing like music to pull you out of a funk. You know, it's hard to be upset listening to Boston or whatever your band is, or whatever, you know, whatever makes you rock. You know, you can't, if you know that you've got a piece of music that makes you dance, put it on. Right. When you're most uncomfortable, and get yourself in front of a mirror and dance to yourself. You will feel so funny that you start laughing at yourself. And fake laugh. Fake laughing will start real laughing really quick. I'll tell you. If you want to get out of a funk, start fake laughing. Oh, you're so funny. Oh. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, that was pretty funny. It's pretty strange, but pull yourself out of it with what you know. Like I said, a piece of literature, a piece of music. And I'm going to share with you at the end one of my favorite readings. Accept the fact that the world can be a challenging place at times, but they can be made easier by putting your trust in what you believe God is for you, knowing that there is a higher power in control. When you feel very out of control, this can be very comforting. You may be out of control. And when you're out of control, you're insane because you don't have control of your behavior. So get yourself back in check. Relax. Take a deep breath. And remember whatever you believe God is to you. Move your mind from the challenge to your belief. Whatever it is to you. Even if you can just think of a wave crashing on a beach. That's God. Or a leaf falling from a tree. That's God. Or sitting beside a beautiful river and imagine a leaf floating down and your challenge is just the leaf floating out of sight. But get your mind off of your challenge and onto your belief in whatever that is. And you get to make it up. It's difficult to stand before the ocean and think that you're doing that. Oh, I'm making that happen. Or look out at the stars and wait for a shooting star and attach yourself to it and imagine yourself drifting across the galaxy. There are ways to get out of your funk. And I'm saying this for me because, I've been in a funk. There are times when my winter funk needs to be shaken off. So, the last one here is ask for assistance. Oh, I have to get help. Share your challenges with a respected friend or call a practitioner or somebody trusted that you can tell them. Get it out of here. If it's in here, it's crazy making. Keeps going around and around. Writing it down, getting it out of your head, journaling it so it's not here, but it's here. And when you journal it, don't just journal the problem, start journaling the solution. What does it look like all cleaned up? I do this thing called leapfrogging, where I leapfrog from the challenge to the solution. I go, what would it look like if this were not a challenge for me? What if this was completely resolved and over and done with? How would I feel? Just getting that feeling sensation into your consciousness will start to separate the belief from the believer. And when you can do that, you start to practice what we teach. Think about what you choose to be, do, and have. Because if energy flows where your attention goes and your attention is on the problem, you're going to grow that. So your attention needs to shift to the solution. And now that it's all done, what does it feel like? Feels good. So I'd like to share with you one of my favorite readings on this that I turn to from time to time to bring myself out. And it's called The Moments of My High Resolve by Howard Thurman. And it's for the inward journey. And it goes like this. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, despite the dullness and the barrenness of the days that pass. If I search with due diligence, I can always find a deposit left by some former radiance. But I had forgotten. At the time, it was fully orbed, glorious and resplendent. I was sure that I would never forget. In the moment of its fullness, I was sure that it would illumine my path for the rest of my journey. I had forgotten how easy it is to forget. There was no intent to betray what seemed to be so sure at the time. My response was whole, clean, authentic. But little by little, there crept into my life the dust and the grit of the journey. Details, lower level demands, and all kinds of cross currents. Nothing monumentous, nothing overwhelming, nothing flagrant, just wear and tear. If there had been some direct challenge, a clear-cut issue, I would have fought it to the end and beyond. In the quietness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading presence of God, my heart whispers, keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, that in fair weather or in foul, in good times or in tempest, in the days when the darkness and the foe are nameless or familiar, I may not forget that to which my life is committed. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. Again, that's for The Inward Journey by Howard Thurman. So in conclusion, you are the place where humanity and divinity meet. You are the place of power in your life. You stand in the doorway of your consciousness and you decide what comes in and what goes out. How does life become the way it is? Through the decisions and choices each one of us make in every moment. So what brought you into this teaching? Inspiration or desperation? Remember that the feeling you first had when you moved into inspiration moved you in a different direction. Again, Romans 12:2. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so it is. So it's time for our healing prayer. So if you'd like to close your eyes or take a soft focus on the candles or the flowers, whatever brings you deeper, let's go there now. And remember that there is a power. And you get to decide what that power is for you. But there is something animating each one of us, animating this plane of existence. And I know that as I turn into that power for assistance, that power turns into what we are. That power turns into us, literally turning us into the power of creation. I may not know what you're walking through today, but I know that the infinite knows. The power of creation knows exactly what it is, why it's happening, and its resolution. So as we move our attention to the resolution, whatever it is, it can be a big thing or a small thing, the mind that made all knows no big and small. It is all resolved eventually. So I take that in, that resolution feeling, that feeling of being complete, being whole, and being loved at depth. How good it is to know that something powerful is available, not only available, but we are using. We are calling that power in to assist us with whatever we're walking through. So I know that no matter what it is, there is a peaceful, loving resolution in all situations. So I give great thanks for that. My heart bubbles over with the love of the universe, for we are given to in such a powerful way that love becomes who and what we are. So it is easy to place these words directly into that living, loving law of the universe, letting go and releasing completely so that we may walk on fully orbed and resplendent in this moment. For that healing and that revealing essence of the law, the love, the Lord, whatever you want to call it, is already happening. How grateful I am for that knowledge, that wisdom, and that power. I let go knowing it is already so as we affirm it together by saying, and so it is. Amen.